Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out today. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today. So before we get into these topics, do me a favor. If you do end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. It helps the videos out a lot. And if you are new here to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Now, the first topic we're talking about is a pretty significant one, depending on what exactly is being alluded to here. So I have an article from PlayStation Lifestyle where the title reads, "Fans are convinced The Last of Us Remake is headed to PS5 and PC in September." So reading here, it says a vague tweet from a relatively new insider has fans convinced that The Last of Us PS5 Remake and PC version are both launching on September 2nd, 2022. The insider, who goes by the name The Snitch on Twitter, quickly made a name for themselves by accurately leaking the complete PlayStation State of Play lineup last week. And yesterday, they leaked Hideo Kojima's new horror game in collaboration with known insider Tom Henderson. The Last of Us PS5 Remake has been rumored for a while now, and reports of its existence have been corroborated by nearly every trustworthy insider and veteran journalist. There have also been multiple reports that the game will launch within this year. While release dates and windows can change due to unforeseen circumstances, suffice to say that The Last of Us 1 Remake is in the works and it's all but confirmed. So why do fans think The Snitch is talking about The Last of Us? Part 1 is one clue. The tweet shows a controller and PC emoji hinting at a PC release of whatever game the insider is teasing here. The theory that they could be talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1 heading to Xbox and PC isn't as popular because the game is already available PC via Epic Game Store. But what if the snitch means an Xbox and Steam release of Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 1? We'll find out. For now, fans are convinced that they are talking about The Last of Us, given recent reports and Sony's push into PC releases. Late last night, Reddit users noticed a now-deleted tweet by Naughty Dog's Josh Scher, in which he appeared to be teasing something in response to Summer Game Fest. A tweet that was put out by the official Summer Game Fest Twitter account. Could Scher be hinting at The Last of Us PS5 and PC release this September? Well, obviously we're going to have to wait and find out and see what happens tomorrow, but something else some people are speculating is that maybe the snitch on Twitter is actually referring to Overdose, Kojima's horror game, and it might be divided into different parts, and maybe he's letting us know that the release for Part 1 will be on September 2nd. I think that that is something we do need to consider as well, because the chances of this Overdose game being multi-platform, releasing on both console and PC, I think is pretty high, and considering this is the individual who seemingly leaked out Overdose and put it out there before anybody even knew about it or was talking about it, that's something we might want to consider as well. But I have to admit that to me, the thing that is worth paying attention to here, that in my opinion does point in the direction of Naughty Dog and of The Last of Us PS5 Remake, is the fact that we had this tweet by Josh Scher, who ended up deleting it because maybe he realized that, this is maybe giving people too much to pick up, right? And maybe he realized that this is not going to be interpreted any other way than Naughty Dog is going to be at Summer Game Fest. And if Naughty Dog is at Summer Game Fest, there's realistically two things that they're going to talk about. I'm not saying they're going to talk about both, but you're either looking at the PS5 Last of Us Remake or The Last of Us Online. Now, here's something I want you guys to consider before we move on to the next topic. The big conversation around this, if this is in fact about The Last of Us Remake, is this idea that it's going to launch day and date onto PC. Now, that's definitely a possibility, and I actually wouldn't be surprised about that. People have been wondering, when is Sony going to bring The Last of Us to PC? Maybe this is their way of bringing it to PC rather than porting the remastered version or the PS3 version. They just figure, you know what, we can release the remake on both PS5 and PC. So that actually does sound very believable and likely to me. And the timing of the release sounds good as well. I guess the only question I'm really left with is whether or not The Last of Us Online game, or The Last of Us Factions 2, whatever you want to call it, has anything to do with this, because I anticipate that that will release on PC as well, since it will be a live service game, and I still do believe it's going to be free to play. So hopefully some of our questions will be answered by tomorrow, but this is what we're hearing right now. Moving on to the next topic though, continuing to talk about PlayStation Studios, it seems that the internal release window, or the placeholder release date I should say, for God of War Ragnarok has been changed. So over on Twitter, we're seeing this from PlayStation Game Size, where they say God of War Ragnarok release date changed from September 30th to December 31st. It's obviously a placeholder, but he says here, you know, Q4, and is kind of wondering, like, is this going to be a Q4 release? Now, I think we're beginning to get a clear picture of what's going to happen here. To me, it seems that The Last of Us PS5 Remake is going to be announced, and it's going to be releasing this September. So that's going to be the big September game for Sony. And God of War Ragnarok is coming out this year. It's not going to be delayed to 2023. And it seems that God of War Ragnarok is going to be a big holiday title for Sony. To me, that's what this is indicating. I know some people are going to think, well, maybe that's not likely because Sony doesn't traditionally do big holiday releases, but at the same time, if you think about it, Sony doesn't really have that much competition this holiday season, and come on, let's be honest right now. A game like God of War Ragnarok, it doesn't have to worry about where it's releasing, right? It commands attention, it's going to suck up the oxygen in the room, and it would actually be wise of any other game that's launching around it to maybe get out of its way, or at least consider doing so. That's how I view a game like God of War Ragnarok, and I think that this is the type of confidence that Sony should have in a game like God of War, where if it's ready to go in November, launch it. And any other game that is going to be releasing, you know, maybe either get out of the way or whatever, you know, it's just how it's going to be. I think that that's the way Sony should do it, and I think that this is a clear indicator that God of War Ragnarok is actually going to be a Q4 holiday 2022 release. Now, this is a little bit surprising to me because I did think it would be releasing in September, but if Sony has The Last of Us Remake ready to go, it makes sense why they would maybe just want to nudge God of War a little bit further back into October or November. So this is the latest update we have for God of War Ragnarok. I'm feeling very, very, very confident that we are going to get a release date tomorrow during Summer Game Fest. So yeah, let's see if that happens. Next up, we're talking about Sony Bend, because not only did they change their logo recently, but they're giving us our first information on their new AAA PlayStation 5 new IP. So reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says here, Bend Studio has revealed a new logo for their studio today. While that wouldn't necessarily be too exciting, it was accompanied by a brief history of the studio and its games, which concluded with a brief look into the future. We already knew that the new game would be a AAA PS5 title based on a new IP, and now Bend Studio has confirmed it will bring players a whole new world as well. Bend Studio is currently creating the next AAA title that will set the PS5 apart from the rest, at least according to a job listing from a senior producer to join their team. This AAA game will be a new IP that includes multiplayer and builds upon the open world systems of Days Gone, but brings you a whole new world that we are extremely excited to craft for you. This is what the studio said recently, and they also said that they cannot wait to reveal it to us when the time is right. Very few other details have been officially announced, but a quick glance over several of the studio's current job listings reveals a few more pieces of information. The game will have ranged and melee combat, with the senior combat designer tasked with designing, implementing, and extensively testing combat systems for weapons, gear, traversal, and player abilities, potentially hinting at a skill system. The senior technical artist, weapons, and vehicles will be tasked with creating vehicles. Unsurprisingly, finally, part of the senior staff character concept artist role is to design characters, NPCs, creatures, and character skins, although whether those creatures are real or fictional remains to be seen. And so that's important to understand. When they say creatures, that could actually mean anything. I think people immediately think like, oh, this is something fantasy based, but not necessarily. By creatures, they could just mean, you know, wildlife and stuff like that. So yeah, if I had to guess, them kind of saying that they're building off of everything they did with Days Gone, I think this is going to be a little bit more grounded. We did hear rumor from a source that may or may not be legitimate that they're working on a stealth action game that is set during the Cold War. And, you know, I could definitely see that. You consider the fact that that would be a great open world title to play, but also the fact that, you know, these are the same people and this is the same studio that worked on Siphon Filter. I think that that would be the next logical step. So I hope that's what they're working on. But nonetheless, I am very excited to hear about what Bend Studio is working on. I have a lot of confidence in them. Days Gone was a great game, in my opinion, very underrated to some extent. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do next. You know, the sky is the limit since it's a new IP and they're going to be working with the PS5 hardware. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the new logo and what they're saying about their new IP. It's also worth noting, I know some people are probably going to be like, oh great, another multiplayer game. It's worth noting that, you know, it says it includes multiplayer. That's, I think, something worth highlighting. That doesn't mean that there won't be a single player component. So just something to keep in mind as well. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. Again, if you did, be sure to leave it a like, leave all your thoughts down in the comments below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.